Noon pa man, malaki na ang naging bahagi ng mga kababaihan sa lipunang Pilipino. Kaisa sila sa marubdob na paghahangad ng kalayaan ng ating lahi. Kabilang sila sa paglinang ng ating makulay na sining at mayamang kultura. Kasapi sila sa pagtataguyod ng mga adhikain ng kapwa mamamayan at sa pagtugon sa mga pangangailangan ng lipunan. Katuwang sila sa pagtuklas sa mga larangan ng agham at medisina. Kapanalig sila sa pagpapairal ng batas, karapatan at katarungan para sa lahat. Kabahagi sila sa paglilingkod sa bayan at sa pagpapanatili ng demokrasyang Pilipino. Sa paglipas ng panahon, hindi nagmaliw ang kanilang pag-ibig sa ating inang bayan. Mga kababayan, ito ang alay ng mga kababaihang Pilipino para sa bayan. Tumayo po tayong lahat at sabay-sabay nating awitin ang pambansang awit ng Pilipinas.
Ayaw magiliw, pero sa silanganan, alam ng puso, sa gilid mo'y buhay. Lumang hinirang, gulat ka ng magiging, sa manlulupin, di ka masisigil. Sa lahat ng tulog, sa sigal at sa langit mong babang, may ginagang tula at awit sa paglayang minamahal. Ang isang ng matawag mo'y talumpay na nagdiligin. Tuwing na araw ng kailan pa may magdilig. Lumalang araw ng 100% buhay ay langit sa piling mo. Ang higaya na pag ay makakamit, ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
Well, good afternoon. Welcome to the Women Rise Collective Voices Research Launch. This is a milestone project of the Women's Business Council Philippines. I am Mylene Abiva, President of the Women's Business Council. The outbreak of the coronavirus pandemic was an unsettling impact on the MSMEs in the Philippines, whose business operations were altered due to the mobility restrictions. Women-led and women-owned enterprises make up 58% of the country's MSMEs. The pandemic's adverse make up 58% of the country's MSMEs, and the adverse impact has affected the MSME sector in all dimensions, affecting the business climate, entrepreneurs' access to finance, skills training, technology, and markets. Women-owned and women-led enterprises bear the brunt of the economic impact of the pandemic in the form of business closures and job losses, and the increasing burden of unpaid care work. WMSEs, or women MSEs, experienced reduced sales due to difficulty in the sourcing of raw materials, challenges in payment of dues and obligations, logistics and delivery disruptions, and significantly challenged in accessing sustainable markets. When the lockdown started in March 2020, economic activities were at a standstill, especially during the first few months of the community quarantine. Both MSMEs and large enterprises were affected. But given the existing challenges to MSMEs, such as lack of access to finance for working capital, small businesses are less likely to bounce back and recover from the impact of the lockdown. They are less likely to stay afloat because they cannot access emergency finances to pay for their workers and continue operations. Small businesses, unlike large enterprises, also do not have extensive marketing and logistics to be able to adjust their strategies during the pandemic. To better grasp the needs of the Filipino women entrepreneurs, the Women Business Council Philippines spearheaded the Women Rise research. Women Rise took a close look at sunrise industries, such as the factors for success and challenges to progress, such as the use of financial technology and the impact of national and local business environments. We are proud to share the research findings today to the general public and to other APEC member economies. The Women's Business Council Philippines also connected the Women Rise Research Study respondents to DTI and Small Business Corporation, the financial arm of DTI, to learn more about the Bayanihan Cares Financial Assistance Program. Financial support was made available for the 108 participants to apply for financial assistance and expand their businesses or pivot to a new industry. Women Biz has then accelerated assistance to establish the Women Strong Network, building for innovation and better business, which I will announce during the program. Women's Business Council Philippines would like to express our gratitude to our speakers who have given their message of support, who will be giving their message of support. First, we have Chair Renee Graham, APEC Policy Partnership on Women and the Economy, or PPWE 2021 Chairperson and from APEC New Zealand. We have Chair Sandra Montano, Chairperson, Philippine Commission on Women, Secretary Ramon Lopez, Secretary, Department of Trade and Industry, Secretary Fortunato de la Peña, from Secretary of the Department of Science and Technology, Senator Risa Ontiveros, Senator of the Philippines, Mr. Hir Gonzalez, Executive Director, ASEAN Business Advisory Council Philippines, ICSB Womenpreneurs Indonesia Secretary, General Ibu Dia Yusuf, and our private partner organizations and their officers. I would like to acknowledge the presence of the Infocom Technology Association of the Philippines, or ITAP President Carlos Subido, Management Association of the Philippines, or MAP, board members Maan Ontiveros and Marivic Españo, Indian Women in Enterprise, or IWE, President Priyalashmi Murugesan, Center for International Private Enterprise, or SIPE, Surjana Penumacha Huerter, Program Officer of SIPE Philippines, Donta Club of Metropolitan Pasig, President Ruby Banares Victorino. We have the Women Biz Government Partners, the Department of Trade and Industry, Philippine Commission on Women, and Department of Science and Technology, and Women Rise respondents, Women Biz members and supporters. And I'd like to give a shout out to the women entrepreneurs from Sorsogon, General Santos, Batangas, Davao, Cagayan de Oro, and throughout NCR. We have with us, yes, Ibu Dia Yusuf. Terima
Hello
kasih.
everyone, terima kasih. Nice to
Yes,
joining here. Thank you.
yes. Thank you, Ibu. We have also Marivic Españo. She is part of the Management Association of the Philippines as a board member, or also a member of the Women's Business Council Philippines. Hello, Marivic.
Hello, Mylene, and
Yes,
hello, everyone.
thank you so much. And we also have we have Hil Gonzalez from the ASEAN Business Advisory Council Philippines, Executive Director. He switched off his video, but later on he will probably show himself. Hil? Yes. Okay. So I would like then to continue that Women's Business Council Philippines would like to foster inclusive economic growth, gender equality, poverty reduction in the Philippines by helping women rise. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your support. Now for me to introduce our first speaker to give a message of support. She is a friend of the Women's Business Council and a personal friend of mine. I'm so proud of her. Sandy Sanchez Montano is the chairperson of the Philippine Commission on Women. Her inspiring transition from a killer earthquake victim to a resilient, innovative lifesaver bagged her an award as the first ASEAN woman leader in ASEAN Business Investment Summit in Myanmar in 2014. Her altruistic efforts to empower women on food security and sustainable livelihood through tropical food manufacturing were recognized by the ASEAN Women Entrepreneur Network, or AWEN, awarding her Outstanding ASEAN Women Entrepreneur Network 2014 in Hanoi, Vietnam. Her valuable contribution to society as a WMSME, including inclusive growth as part of APEC global value chain, and her outstanding work performance in occupational safety and health made her on the list of awardees among the 100 most influential Filipino women in the world in 2016 by the Filipino Women Network, San Francisco, USA-based women-led organization. With all her life works, she was chosen to represent the Philippines in the APEC Best Top Manager Awards during the APEC Summit in La Serena, Chile in 2019. Her passion to educate and empower people to save lives ignited her resolve and founded Community Health Education Emergency Rescue Services Foundation, and years after called Cheers Academy, a social enterprise put to meet the challenge of better equipping communities in the occurrence of disaster calamities and its global pandemic. Chair Sandy is the focal point person to APEC Policy Partnership on Women and the Economy. She is permanent representative to the United Nations Women, or UNCSW, head of delegation the ASEAN Ministerial Meeting on Women, among other positions. A health and safety practitioner and a proud farmer's daughter, our champion on gender equality, she says, beside a successful man is an empowered woman. Her life motto, women are powerful beyond measure and beautiful beyond pressure. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the chairperson of the Philippine Commission on Women, Chair Sandy Montano.
Thank you so much, President Mylene, my sister. I'm really so happy. How time flies, di ba? Kailan lang yun, nag-launch tayo ng mga activities natin on the webinar. Now, we're already here to finally check on the validation of the activities that you had with I Am Woman, okay? So distinguished guests, colleagues, partners, and fellow women rights advocates, magandang hapon. But syempre, bago ko po ituloy ang aking message, I would like to greet each and everyone, like especially Secretary Ramon Lopez, our women champion, okay, for MSME, Secretary Fortunato de la Peña of the UST, Senator Risa Hontiveros, who we partner with the Women Priority Legislative Agenda, our the Executive Director of ASEAN BAC, Mr. Gil Gonzalez, whom I worked with noong 2014. Sir Gil, magandang hapon po. Ibu Yusof from Indonesia, at lahat po sa ating mga nandito ngayon sa Zoom, online, magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. Okay. I still remember how time flies. It was just last month when the Philippine Commission on Women demonstrated our heartfelt support to the Women this launch of the ebook, I Am Woman. It's a gender-responsive guide for business and corporate leaders. We lauded the ebook and its corresponding webinars as valuable source of information for employers, women in business, the academe, and other stakeholders for identifying concrete and realistic ways to promote women's rights in the workplace. So this is really a laudable and legacy for Women Biz to have launched this program. Today, we celebrate another milestone of the Women Business Council Philippines. And the PCW is again proud to express its continued support to the Women Biz, our official partner, and their research study entitled Women Rise, Collective Voices, Learning from the Experience of Women MSME. Ito po yung mga MSME na minsan hindi na po natin nakikita, pero ito po yung na-tap ng Women Business Council para tanungin ano ba talaga ang nangyayari. What have you been doing lately, especially with the onslaught of the pandemic? The lack of gender information and sex disaggregated data has been a persisting challenge that affects the policy-making environment of all countries. As the saying goes, what can't be measured can't be improved. Hence, Philippine Commission on Women, PCW, constantly promotes the increased collection, use and analysis of gender information and sex disaggregated data to inform policies and programs for both women and men. Kaya nga po gender equality tayo. It's both men and women. This is also why studies such as the Women's Rights are especially helpful for government counterparts that are tasked to formulate such policies and programs, including our agency, your agency, the Philippine Commission on Women, the Department of Trade and Industry. By now, almost 2 years into the pandemic, its disproportionate impact on women and girls has been mentioned countless times. However, these familiar words, together with building back better, are easy to mention, but rather hard to address and put into practice without information from women on the ground. We commend Women Biz for this study that does just that. Provide information directly from the women-led and women-owned MSMEs that has been affected by the crisis. So direct impact po ito, social impact po ito, they are asked directly. Not only that, the study even looks at sunrise industries or those that have the potential to grow despite the current business environment. As the Philippine Commission on Women continues to work for a truly inclusive and gender-responsive government, we are heartened by the proactive and enthusiastic support from allies in the private sector, such as the Women Biz. So, virtual clap po tayong lahat para sa Women Biz, sa lahat po ng mga officers po, board members, and all the active members of Women Biz. Saludo po kami sa inyong lahat. Once again, we congratulate Women Biz for the Women's Rights Collective Voices Research Study, another initiative that addresses the concern of MSME and women-led businesses that will help them surpass the obstacles they are facing in this time of crisis and will further aid them to recognize the factors that directly affect their businesses and both the national and the local economies. So again, my heartfelt congratulations to our chairperson, Ms. Monette Hamlin, to the president, Ms. Maylene Abiva, and all the board members, lahat po ng mga officials, lahat po ng mga officers na tumulong po para ito po ay maging itong ating validation, itong ginawa po natin na pagtanong sa ating MSME ng kanilang kalagayan ay nandito na po ngayon sa isang libro. Okay, we look forward to more years of collaboration, not only now, but in the years to come, and partnership with Women Biz and all our allies. So we wish you good health and more power. Lagi po sinasabi, again, we have a lot of strategies, we have a lot of concern, and we have a lot of struggles and difficulties. But always remember, women are beautiful beyond measure and powerful beyond pressure. Magandang hapon po at maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat.
And that is so true to you, Chair Sandy, Chair Sis Sandy. Thank you so much. So inspiring indeed. And at this point, may we request Chairperson of the Women's Business Council, Monette Iturralde Hamlin, to join me on screen as we give a virtual certificate of appreciation for Chair Sandy Montano. Ms. Monette? So may I read the citation? This certificate of appreciation is presented to Sandra S. Montano for imparting her valuable insights in the message of support during the Women's Rights Collective Voices research study launch given this 20th day of October 2021. Signed by myself and Chairperson Monette Iturralde Hamlin. All right, so may we have a photo up, please?
Thank you.
All right. Sir Wax. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Chair
Thank
Sandy.
you very
and
much, Chair Sandy. Thank you so
Please
much.
stay.
Congratulations. Grabe. Ang galing-galing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sis Sandy. More to come. More to
Yes,
come.
yes. See you soon in APIC Best.
Yes. Yes. All right. So let's move on. We have so much in store for us this afternoon, right, Monette?
That is so true, Mylene.
Yes.
And we're all excited to share the information with everyone.
Exactly. Thank you. Okay, and next we would like to introduce our first keynote speaker. Our guest today is a senator known for her tireless work in promoting public health, women's rights, and the welfare of the Filipino family. Since her election to the Senate in 2016, Senator Ontiveros has already championed 14 landmark laws, including the historic expanded maternity leave law, the Philippine mental health law, and the Safe Streets and Public Spaces Law, or Bawal ang Bastos Law. As chairperson of the Senate Committee on Women, Children, Family Relations, and Gender Equality, Senator Ontiveros is currently working to expand the Solo Parents Act and to increase the monthly pension to senior citizens through the Lingap Para Kay Lola at Lolo bill. She has received many accolades even before becoming a legislator, including a 2005 Nobel Peace Prize nomination for her work in the peace movement. Despite her busy schedule, Senator Ontiveros is a loving and hands-on mother to 4 children. Kiko, who happens to be the classmate of my son, Ileana, Isa, and Cinta. Let us give a warm welcome to Senator Risa Ontiveros.
Magandang hapon to all of you women entrepreneurs, and all participants of today's event. Salamat to the Women's Business Council Philippines for this gathering. One I'm sure will empower more women to participate in Magandang hapon to all of you women entrepreneurs, and all participants of today's event. Salamat to the Women's Business Council Philippines for this gathering. One I'm sure will empower more women to participate in avenues we want to occupy. Our gratitude to all of you, women leaders, workers, entrepreneurs, academicians, and participants who continue to lift each other up. Thank you for working with us, policymakers. Thank you for sharing your direct and personal experiences with others, especially other women in this ever volatile market and economy. Since the outbreak of COVID-19, we've repeatedly said how the pandemic has disproportionately affected the most vulnerable among us, including women, and this certainly bears repeating. But women, even girls, have already been so creative, so driven to take charge of our lives. Women in already marginalized communities, such as those working in the informal sector or those in far-flung areas, are facing more challenges than ever. I'm reminded of an article about Baseco, Manila's garlic shadow economy, in which women hand peel kilos of garlic, which are then delivered to fast food chains or markets. This work pays a measly 83 pesos and 39 centavos for each sack of garlic peeled, a salary way below the minimum daily wage of 533 pesos and 30 centavos. In that article, one of the women, Marites Arendain, shares how she wakes up at 2 in the morning to fill drums with water so she can submerge the garlic cloves and soften them. After which, she also starts preparing her sari-sari store. From morning until night, she peels garlic, squeezing in perhaps other chores or attending to customers of her store. It is women like Marites whom we should first consider if we want to truly empower women. How do we reach women like her? How can we help her not only fight for a better living wage, but also gain access to other ways of survival? How can we shed more light on these stories, these cases that are so often kept secret? As a legislator, I'm fortunate to be given the opportunity to hopefully create a climate that can support women like Marites. I'm fortunate that I have the capacity, the resources to bring these cases to the public's attention, to have more people like you care for other women, especially those in sectors not readily recognized by our institutions. I filed Senate Bill number 1221, or the Magna Carta of Workers in the Informal Sector, which seeks to secure and protect the welfare of workers in the informal economy. We still do not have a proper database accounting for these workers, rendering them invisible. How can we help if we don't know who or where they are? A substantial number of these workers in the informal sector are women, which is why I also filed Senate Bill number 2175, or the Maternity Benefit for Women in the Informal Economy Act. This will grant maternity cash aid for pregnant workers in the informal sector to help boost the economy and improve the health of mothers and infants nationwide. In this bill, all pregnant workers in the informal economy who are not members of the Social Security system will be entitled to a one-time maternity cash aid from the Department of Social Welfare and Development. This is also a much-needed upgrade of our expanded maternity leave law, an historic legislation that many women workers helped me pass into law, so more working mothers and infants, especially those from poor households, would be supported with maternal benefits. For women who are gig economy workers, those who may be using apps used by companies to hire independent contractors and freelancers, I also filed proposed Senate Resolution 732 to look into their working conditions. Many of these workers are still not entitled to healthcare benefits, retirement pay, leave credits, and other forms of basic labor rights found in the Labor Code. If we are able to properly investigate this in the Senate, it can aid us in making policy proposals that will be fair and just to workers, including our women. There are many, many more policies that we can craft and push for our women. A lot of you may have already created a number of ways to equip yourselves in this new normal. Perhaps many of you have already turned to e-commerce platforms, as we've learned that 2/3 of sellers in a popular apps marketplace actually consist of women. As we inch our way to recovery, again, let me say thank you, Women's Business Council Philippines, for pushing for programs and responses that consider the unique experiences of women. The mom who sells a myriad of products online while also helping her children navigate distance learning. The wife or partner who wants to double her contribution to the household income. The sister who wakes up early in the morning to sell kakanin in the neighborhood so she can buy load for her and her siblings' online classes. For all this, you deserve a huge pat on the back. And now, our job is to further support you where you are. Always remember, we are here for each other. Mayroon kang katabi, mayroon kang kasama. Sa kabila ng lahat, hindi tayo patatalo. At araw-araw tayong babangon para sa isa't isa. Mabuhay ang Pilipina!
Thank you
Thank you very much, Senator Risa Ontiveros. Secretary De La Peña is already here with us. Thank you so much, Senator Risa Ontiveros. And may we request for picture, Chairperson of Women Biz, we maybe call in Monette Hamlin to join us. And may we also call Chair Sandy Montano to join us in the picture. So we will send this to Senator Risa Ontiveros. Okay. Smile, smile. Relax. Yes, Senator Risa Ontiveros really wanted to join us. Unfortunately, there is a current budget hearing at the Senate ongoing, and she could not commit for the time, but she will join us later on in the program if she can. Thank you. Okay, so we may move on to our next speaker, who is here. All right, thank you so much. Secretary Fortunato T. de la Peña started his professional career at then ESSO, Standard Eastern, as a cost and operations engineer in 1969. And after graduating with a BS Chemical Engineering degree from the University of the Philippines that year, he then took up graduate studies in industrial engineering at the same university and earned an MS degree in industrial engineering. He joined the UP College of Engineering faculty as an instructor in 1973 and rose to become full professor in 1988. He served UP in various capacities as chairman of the Department of Industrial Engineering and Operations Research, as assistant to the executive director of the National Engineering Center, as director of the Institute for Small-Scale Industries, and as System Vice President for Planning and Development. He taught industrial engineering and operations research at the University of the Philippines for 43 years, from 1973 to 2016. He was seconded to the National Science and Technology Authority, then called NSTA, which later became the Department of Science and Technology, or DOST, 3 times. As head of its planning service, as director of its Technology Application and Promotion Institute, and as Undersecretary for Scientific and Technical Services, after which he retired in 2014. In 2016, he was appointed DOST Secretary. He is also a supporter of the Philippine Robotics National Team. He led a number of professional organizations as its president. These are the Philippine Institute of Chemical Engineers, the Association of Management and Industrial Engineers of the Philippines, the National Research Council of the Philippines, and the Philippine Association for the Advancement of Science and Technology. He also served as chair of the UN Commission on Science and Technology for Development. The awards he received include Dangal ng Bayan Award from Civil Service Commission, the Outstanding Career Executive Officer Award from the Career Executive Service Board, the Outstanding Professional Award for the Professional Regulations Commission, the UP Alumni Association Award for Public Service, the UP Alumni Engineers Most Distinguished Alumnus Award, the UP Alumni Association Lifetime Distinguished Achievement Award, and the Ateneo Government Service Award. The University of the Philippines conferred on him a degree of Doctor of Laws, honoris causa, in 2018. Ladies and gentlemen, I am proud to introduce a good friend and, as I said, a robotics supporter for the Philippines, Secretary Fortunato D. de la Peña. And Secretary de la Peña is actually migrating from an event, from waste to energy event in UP Los Baños, and he's now entering the room so that he can join us and deliver his message personally. So let's start first with this deck. Secretary de la Peña, the floor is yours. Okay, he is still moving. Right. Secretary de la Peña, thank you so much for inviting all the DOST officials from the different agencies to participate in the I Am Woman book launch and here today for the Women Rise research launch. So Secretary de la Peña. Okay, here we go. The floor is yours, sir.
Yeah, greetings to everyone. I'm currently in Los Baños to launch our waste to energy facility here, a 25 kilowatt hour waste to energy facility. But I would like to take this opportunity to present to our participants to this event of the Women Business Council the facilities of one of our institutes that is devoted to industrial technology. There are others where you may be interested in, but let me focus as of now on the Industrial Technology Development Institute. This was formerly the Bureau of Science that was established in 1901. And eventually it evolved into the ITDI. They take care of many areas of technology from material science to pharmaceuticals to energy to environment to packaging to food processing. And so that will be the areas where there are opportunities for our women, for our business women to take advantage of what they have. Next slide, please. Okay, so yeah, we would like to show you the different processing services that are available at the Industrial Technology Development Institute. It is actually a place where you can develop products, where you can actually do processing at a small scale, particularly for your market testing of your newly developed products, and of course the testing for quality and for meeting standards. Next slide, please. That is from the Chemicals and Energy Division. And this is another one which is taking care of the Environment and Biotechnology Division. They promote cleaner production technologies. Okay, they do verification of environmental technology. For example, if there is a new environment technology that is being introduced, the DENR will ask them to get this ETV, Environmental Technology Verification from ITDI. Okay, and there are other industry sectors that that they cover. For example, technologies for processing of waste using organisms. Okay, and that is different from the application of here in Los Baños now. So new microorganisms for the production of chemicals, new and additives and others. Next slide. Slide is one of the which is the food processing division. So they actually help in developing new products or in developing food standards. Of course, they promote good manufacturing practices. They help you be trained in hazard analysis and critical control points in the production line of food processing done by micro, small, and medium enterprises. They also develop equipment prototypes that will be used for our food processing, and usually these facilities are in our food innovation centers found in every region of the country. There are 16 food innovators. The UST put up them in universities, and also the ones that you will find in technology business incubators. Next slide, please. The next slide will focus on another important division, which is the packaging technology division. Packaging technology division. It started as the packaging R&D center, and it was elevated into a full-blown division. They do the following services: the systematic and comprehensive is the development of national branding strategies for Philippine products, the development of packaging systems for ethnic foods to enhance competitiveness of regional products, the development of ready-to foods faster and for survival and the conduct of performance testing for transport packaging materials. We will be inaugurating next month two packaging technology division, the green packaging division center, and the simulated packaging testing center. Next slide would refer to our testing and calibration services. The different divisions of the ITDI has on one hand the R&D part, okay, which includes product development, and on another hand the testing and calibration services. Our ITDI actually has the facilities involved in national metrology. Okay, so except of time, they keep the standards for weight, and for length. Okay, and now there are other metrology units that we have set up. So we are inaugurating again next Center for Chemistry. Okay, next slide, please. We have, this is still under the standards testing division. The next slide will facilities that we have. Next slide. For example, we have set up our advanced device materials test. Okay, next slide, please. For a long time, there was a demand from the initially from the electronics and semiconductors industry to set up a Philippine testing center for devices and materials. Okay, at that time, only the smaller ones had to go to either home for the test. We allocated funds to set up the Advanced Device and Materials Testing Laboratory. Initially, focused only on it, but eventually they have branched out to other medical,
Secretary?
Yeah, I'm on my
Okay.
last is ready, and please. The next slide actually shows the materials development laboratory that we have just inaugurated last June. This is in connection with the setting up of our advanced manufacturing center that is actually focusing on 3D printing as in contrast to the traditional or conventional methods. Okay, so this is an additive manufacturing. And while the Metals Industry Research and Development Center is taking care of the and the production, the Technology Development Institute that takes care of materials for additive manufacturing. Next slide, please. Another facility that we have put into place, which we call the Modular Multi-Industry Innovation Center, or InnoHub. Okay, and this is a facility that offers an opportunity to firms to modify or transform their products, such as food ingredients, nutritional supplements for personal care, and you can nutraceutical processing and others. Actually, this is a place which has different sections. There are oil extraction sections, there are spray drying sections, and actually what I saw impressive here is agricultural products like from fruits, like from mango, can actually be developed into new products. So they came up with those that can be used for healthcare, and there are those that actually can be converted into fiber tablets. No, so you can actually locate here for a while. And about Okay, in the next the Industry Innovation Center. And the next slide, which is the second to the last slide, okay, is dealing with training. And I think you will be interested in this. ITDI provides scheduled and customizable training courses through its technology services division. So this is just a sampling of what is going to be offered for the month of October and November. So most of them has something to do with testing and standards, okay? But there are also on root crops, etc. Okay, and the last slide would be those that are offered to the public for free. Next slide, please. Okay, so these are accessible from the ITDI YouTube channel, Food Processing Technologies. These are free webinars that you can access and can learn from. So this is just an example coming from one of our 7 research and development institutes. I cannot cover all the institutes, but there are other 6 institutes devoted to different sectors. So I think I have kept myself within the given time frame. It's 2:50. Thank you very much, Mylene.
Thank you so much, Secretary. We know that you're so busy, and we are, in behalf of the Women's Business Council, we are so grateful that you have spent this time with us despite your busy schedule today. Kami po ay talagang na-touch na kayo po. Pero po, mag-picture muna tayo, Secretary, bago po kayo bumalik sa event nyo. Pwede po? May we also invite Renee Graham?
I would like to greet the chair here. Okay,
Chair, opo, si Chair Sandy, yes, she will join the photo with you,
yes,
Secretary.
Yes.
Oo, yan.
This is my
Special
second
request
time.
ka.
My second time. Okay.
Yes, opo. Okay. And
Thank you.
after this, okay, wait, one more, sir. Okay. Okay, maybe request Chair Renee Graham of APEC PPWE to join us. Secretary De La Peña has shared a lot of innovations in the department, and we know that it will also be beneficial for the other APEC economies to learn about this. So there you go. Hi, Renee. Okay. So Secretary, may I introduce Miss Renee Graham? She's broadcasting from New Zealand. Renee, maybe you can say a few words to Secretary.
Yeah. Hello, Renee.
Hello, Secretary. Nice to meet you. Thank you for your presentation. It was very interesting.
Yes, maybe we can collaborate, no, Renee? Some of the APEC economies can collaborate with the Department of Science and Technology and the ITDI. Okay, so let's have a photo.
So I would like to thank you and Monet and Sandy, and of course our partner from New Zealand. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Secretary.
And, I'd like to request one more request. May we request the Executive Director of the ASEAN Business Advisory Council, Gil Gonzalez, to join us. Gil, you missed the picture taking a while ago, but maybe you can join us now while we have Secretary in the call. Mukhang he's not paying attention. Okay. All right, let's proceed.
So,
okay, Monette. Okay, Secretary, again, thank you so much for your time. It's so precious.
Yeah. Sorry, I cannot join the Q&A anymore. I have to run to the inauguration of the waste to energy facility.
Waste to energy. Yes, sir. Thank you so much, and keep up the good work, Secretary. Thank you so much also for helping and supporting the robotics program po. Thank you. Okay, God bless. Ingat po.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay. The floor is yours. Thank you po.
Thank you very much,
The floor is yours,
Secretary. Yeah, thank you so much, Secretary, for sharing with us all of those developments that that's being done by the Department of Science and Technology. Indeed, those things are going to help a lot of women-owned and women-led MSMEs. I particularly took interest in your Modular Multi-Industry Innovation Center, or InnoHub sa Pinas, as well as your ITDI free webinars, because I believe that this can help even some of one of our case study authors later who we will be introducing. So at this point in time, what we'd like to do is to now go into the meat of what we are launching today. we came up with the book, a study, Women Rise. Let me just show it here. Okay. And this particular study, the Women Rise Collective Voices, as introduced by Mylene earlier, sought to look at the different MSMEs owned by women, led by women, that are in the sunrise industries, and to explain to us or to give us an overview of what happened in that study. We have a member of the research team, together with Sylvia Garde and Dominic Garde Torres. We have our speaker, Lizelle Formiliasa Dunuan. She's a program manager of Connected Women and a freelance writer, a graduate of the University of Philippines, BA Communication in Journalism. And she actually helps organizations design responsive programs as well as get their message across. So the floor is yours, Lizelle.
Thank you, Ms. Monette, for that very generous introduction. It's nice to meet you. I hope everybody can hear me well. Let me know if there are any issues with my audio, if ever. But yes, let's start. No, but before we actually go into the presentation, I'd also like to acknowledge, of course, that this research study was actually done by a team of 3 women. No? So we have me as one of the researchers. The lead researcher is actually Dominic Garde Torres. Unfortunately, is not available today, so I'm presenting in behalf of the team, and also Sylvia Garde. So this is the result of our months of research, and it actually is. We are looking at the experience of women MSMEs, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic. So it's commissioned by the Women's Business Council of the Philippines. So next slide, please. So it was undertaken to determine the barriers and drivers to the continued operations of Filipino women entrepreneurs in MSMEs who fall under the category of sunrise industries. We were looking particularly at what we call sunrise industries, and we were looking particularly at the period during the COVID-19 pandemic. Next slide, please. So these are the highlights from the findings of our study. If you want to learn a bit more, of course, the book is available, and that has the details of the study. So this study, the survey, first of all, we conducted the survey, which was a 64-item self-administered online survey, and we partnered with Go Negosyo to issue a national call for women entrepreneurs who are running MSMEs to participate. Of course, informed consent was secured from the survey participants. It was the survey was open from Feb 25 to May 1. And all in all, we were able to get 108 responses, and these were representing 14 out of the 17 regions in the Philippines. So of the 108, we identified 59 as sunrise industry MSMEs, and we also identified 49 as the non-sunrise industry MSMEs. So for one of the questions that we asked the MSMEs when in the survey is that if they suffered any interruptions during the pandemic. And based on this pie chart, we compared the responses of sunrise industry MSMEs and non-sunrise industry. So if you notice, in terms of interruption, the sunrise industry MSMEs had a higher percentage of those who, when they said that they did not suffer any interruptions compared to the 18% of the non-sunrise industry MSMEs. So, but all in all, it's also good to note that both types of industries experienced interruptions. Next slide, please. So we also asked them if the nature of their business changed. So this also has to do with being able to pivot and being able to adjust. No? So in terms of pivoting, it looks like based on this, the sunrise industries had a lot of them were able to change. No? They changed business, they changed strategy based on the answers that they provided here. And in terms of, and most of the non-sunrise industries said that only about 69% of them said yes, they changed the nature of their business. So for the monthly income, this is also important to note. Although in terms of the impact on the onset of the COVID-19 restrictions, we can see that Sunrise Industry MSME still had a higher, a lot of them, 24% of them said that they increased despite the COVID-19 restrictions, and only 58% of them said that it decreased, as compared to, for example, the bigger 63% of the non-Sunrise Industry MSMEs. Next slide, please. So we looked at different types of materials, so secondary sources. We also interviewed the Department of Trade and Industry, from Music Bless to and also we looked at information shared with us by BISMED. So based on that, we were able to see the following. We identified drivers and barriers depending on which type of agent we were looking at. So for government, it was clear that their response was only within their existing parameters. And then the kind of response that they had was mainly to mitigate effects and improve the service through technology, because there was a need to go online, there was a need to deliver service despite the restrictions of COVID-19. So, and then the continuing challenge that we saw is that, and I think was also highlighted by Chair Sandy, was that there was a lack of gender-specific data. And there was also the response also highlighted the digital divide, because those who don't have access to technology definitely will be left out or will miss out. So the other agent or group that we looked at were multilaterals. So these were the United Nations, the UN Women Program, and other multilateral organizations. We noted that multilaterals generally have a focused data collection and evidence-based planning. And in terms of their response, they highlighted the importance of gender-specific data gathering and analysis in order for them to put forward recommendations for governments and for other stakeholders. The continuing challenge even for multilaterals is, of course, how to be able to provide access to finance and technology, because these are the two things that they felt women MSMEs needed during the COVID-19 pandemic. For the private sector, we looked at international groups such as Facebook and other organizations, and we also looked at local businesses. So for the private sector, basically taking care of business means taking care of MSMEs, because for one, a lot of the private sector institutions, such as banks and financial institutions, had to safeguard their viability. A lot of their borrowers are MSMEs, so they had to make sure that MSMEs were given preference during the pandemic in order for them to be able to pay back, whether it's through loan restructuring and other offerings that they had. We also noted that there was a growth of the use of technology during the pandemic, so even among MSMEs. So these would be MSMEs using social media, using online platforms to sell because of the limitations of the COVID-19 pandemic. So these are some of the things that we actually noted when it comes to drivers and barriers. And then in terms of the provision of access to finance and technology, the private sector also highlighted that this was a continuing challenge. Next slide, please. So we looked at specifically how networks and coalitions were able to grow during the COVID-19 pandemic. And in fact, you can highlight it with groups such as Women Biz coming together and conducting this women rights research. There are also citizen-led movements that are already established, such as Go Negosyo, who kept on doing what they did best, helping MSMEs and providing mentoring and such, even with the restrictions of the pandemic. And then there's also new movements such as Bounce Back Philippines, wherein the growth was phenomenal during the pandemic, which meant that there was really a need to come together. And there was actually, they saw the need to do that. And there was also a realization that there is strength and recovery in engagement and collaboration. So next slide, please. So we also had a chance to identify some case studies. So these are women MSMEs coming from the different, coming from the respondents and coming from different areas. So the ones that we identified came from Region 10, again, the Oro City, and the Cordillera Administrative Region, or Baguio City, and Region 11, and where Davao City is. So we noted in the case studies, and I think this will also be further discussed later on. Most of the case studies said that it was important for them to create and provide value. And it was also important for them to get or use hard data and experience so that they are able to pivot and change. So in terms of what they felt were the needs of MSMEs, in further needs of MSMEs for support, so they identified the following: capacity building and financial technology, more government technical support, and which I'm happy to say is what Secretary De La Peña mentioned earlier, all of the services for agribusiness, for food processing, that's very important for MSMEs now. And more important, more opportunities to work with each other. So all of these support local advocacies wherein, you have supply chains at the local level without too much reliance on, outside of their environment is also helpful for MSMEs. Next slide, please. So there were very specific recommendations, and these have to do with those who are in agribusiness. And I think I'll leave this to further discussion later, because it basically identifies, because one of the sunrise industries that we saw, of course, is agribusiness, or anything that's related to agriculture and food production. So, and it basically says that there are needs for MSMEs in order for them to excel and produce products in this area. They need to be able to get grants. They need to be able to get assistance and financing for research and development, and access to affordable tools and equipment, so that they're able to change and pivot and come up with new products. So, but I would like to highlight some of the ICT challenges that were highlighted during the COVID-19 pandemic. So there's still our infrastructure in terms of internet connectivity is still lacking, and it's for many various reasons. But I think it will be difficult for most MSMEs to go into the e-commerce or the online commerce platform if we do not have that infrastructure for them to use. So, and then last, also part of that is giving MSMEs a better understanding of digital marketing, so that they're able to make use of these platforms wherever it's available, and it's able to help them boost their own businesses. So next slide, please. So these are the specific recommendations we have. So for programs and initiatives, in order for them to benefit from gender sensitive, in order for them to be able to address, for example, they have to be able to make use of gender sensitive data collection and planning. So with gender sensitive specific data on hand, government programs can formulate interventions that focus on assisting women-owned MSMEs. And also, government and the private sector will definitely benefit from capacity building activities on gender sensitive data collection and planning. Next slide, please. So we also feel that WMSMEs will gain from capacity building activities to strengthen agency and build resilience. So these would include, for example, business resiliency planning, because the COVID-19 pandemic definitely thrust women MSMEs into this new environment where they had no idea what was happening and no idea how to pivot or change. And there's also a need for them to learn evidence-based planning, making use of data to plan and to take action. And it also includes understanding the current business environment and including the potential of Sunrise Industries. Financial technology is also one area that WMSMEs need help on, and as well as actually being able to adapt technology to boost their business. So it can be something as simple as using social media to market, or something as complex as using an e-commerce platform to market their products. Next slide, please. So finally, I think this is one of the final slides. So in terms of opportunities and spaces for collaboration, in network building is important, as we saw how valuable it is during the pandemic. There were new movements coming out, no? But I think it's also better to have a movement of women-owned MSMEs wherein they're able to openly share ideas, exchange resources, and help each other and collaborate. One possible way would be, maybe they would have their own supply chain, create some supply chain among WMSMEs who can be used, no, it can be implemented. So I think this is the last slide, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, there's still some more. Okay, so a few more in terms of what we feel needs to be done and studied some more, because these are mainly research recommendations and also policy recommendations. We would like to put forward the following research problems or research questions. What do WMSMEs need to consider when they reflect on and assess their business practice that will ensure their strength and agency and resilience? How does the Department of Trade and Industry operationalize gender and development policy in its programs and services? And how does gender-sensitive data collection and analysis contribute to policy and program development? So is that the last slide, sir? It is the last slide. So at this point, thank you so much for listening. And I hope you caught some recommendations. And we'd like to also, of course, you can also take a look at the book which was published by Women Biz for this particular research. Thank you, Ms. Manette. Thank you, Mylene.
Thank you so much, Lizelle. Thank you very much for sharing with us the results of your studies. Very, very interesting. And I will give a call later for those people who want to get a copy and how you can get your hands on a copy. And we will be discussing more, go deeper into the case studies because we have two guests later who will shed more light on the things that were just reported by Lizelle. Now, our next part of the program is I'd like to introduce someone who we all look up to. But I think it's very important that we take note that whatever is happening here based on the Women Rise study is happening not just in the Philippines, but is happening all over the world. And we do have sisters in the APAC and ASEAN region, and they also are feeling this. So I'd like to introduce our speaker from APEC PPWE. She is the chairwoman. PPWE stands for Policy Partnership on Women in the Economy. And our guest is Renee Graham. She is not just the chair for New Zealand for APEC PPWE. She's also the independent chair for Social Services Accreditation Board. And in June of 2021, she was appointed as Te Tumu Wakahaere, Chief Executive of the Social Wellbeing Agency. Before that, she was Secretary for Women and Chief Executive of the Ministry for Women. What is interesting is that as Secretary of Women, one of her achievements included the development and introduction of an online tool, bringing gender in. This is to help policymakers explore as well as understand the gender impacts of their policies, the development and implementation of an action plan to eliminate the gender pay gap in the public sector, as well as work to increase the representation of women in senior leadership and governance rules across the public and private sectors. Ladies and gentlemen, let us please welcome our dearest Renee Graham, speaking to us from New Zealand. Renee, welcome to our event.
O tēnā koutou katoa e rangatira mā, ngā mihi nui kia koutou katoa. Greetings, everyone. Greetings, Monette. Greetings, Sandy and Mylene. It's good to see you again. And thank you for all the work you do in the APEC work stream. It's been fantastic. Greetings from New Zealand, of course, and for your kind invitation to join you this afternoon. I'm always happy to support the Philippines Women's Business Council, especially because of the work you do to promote gender equality through your many strategic projects. I was so impressed by the I Am Women series that I am borrowing the concept and hope to replicate it in New Zealand with a focus on Indigenous women in our public service. So I'll let you know how that goes. But that really goes to the heart and essence of the APEC Women in the Economy work stream, the sharing of ideas and best practice and learning from each other so that women across all of our economies benefit. Another key to our achievements in APEC, I think, is the partnership between public and private organisations. In APEC, we have a strong focus on public-private relationships, and we ensure that part of our program includes the ability to have public-private dialogue on a mutual topic of interest. And this is because we know that the public service can't improve gender equality on their own. This policy dialogue is an exceptional example of how together we collaborate on women's economic empowerment, entrepreneurship, and leadership opportunities to drive growth and sustainable development. This year, our dialogue was about women-led businesses in digitally inclusive economies, the barriers to women becoming entrepreneurs, and what initiatives across our economies work to address these barriers. The Women Rise study findings really reflect the findings of that dialogue, I think. Lessons and learnings from MSMEs in adjusting and pivoting in the pandemic will help women entrepreneurs in the future, particularly a future with when the likes of COVID-19 isn't one-off, but becomes commonplace and women are disproportionately affected again and again. The Policy Partnership for Women in the Economy is one of many work streams in APEC. Across 21 economies, we work to address 5 key pillars impacting women's economic empowerment: access to capital, access to market, skills and capacity building, women's leadership and agency, innovation and technology. And I can see these pillars represented in the Women Rise study findings, and I think it'll be a great resource for all APEC economies. I'm confident that the APEC member economies will get valuable insights and learnings from the findings and the recommendations of the research study. Alongside initiatives being developed by organisations such as the Women's Business Council and those being developed across APEC work streams, we can see that women's economic empowerment is being thoughtfully addressed in well-targeted and constructive actions. This gives me hope that as we work to respond and recover from the pandemic, that we seize the opportunity, as Maylene put it, to build back better for women and girls. Sharing best practice and ideas are crucial elements of the way we operate and the way we influence change. And I thank the Women's Business Council for sharing this material so that women and girls across all our economies benefit. I will see you at your next launch. Thank you, Chair. Thanks, Minette.
Thank you so much, Renee. Can I call Mylene to join us? We'd like to present you a certificate of appreciation for staying up and being with us today.
No, it's all good. It's only 7 o'clock.
Oh, great.
Yes,
That's
thank you so much, Renee. And may we call PCW Chair Sandy to join us? We're among sisters here of APEC.
Yeah.
Okay, Sister Sandy, she's still in the call. I hope she can join us. But may I read the certificate of appreciation from the Women's Business Council? The Women's Business Council present the certificate of appreciation to Renee Graham for imparting valuable insights in the message of support during the Women Rise Collective Voices Research Study launch, given this 20th day of October 2021, signed by yours truly and Chairperson Monette Iturralde Hamlin. Thank you so much, Renee.
Thank you.
And you're more than welcome to use I Am Woman in the economies and also in New Zealand for the indigenous peoples. So we have here Chair Sandy. Okay, may we have a picture? And then we'll have a picture with the rest of the, okay. May we call also the ASEAN Business Advisory Council Executive Director Gil Gonzalez to join us. All right, okay. So we have the ASEAN, we have the APEC, and we have the Philippines. Okay, we have the whole world. Okay, smile please. Okay, at this point, we request everyone to please switch on your videos and join us for a group photo with Chair Renee, Chair Sandy, and Executive Director Gil Gonzalez of ASEAN Bank. And if we can have Ibu Dia Yusuf, Secretary General of the Womenpreneurs Indonesia. We have Zonta International, Ruby Victorino. Who else pa? Who else do we have? Okay, and all right. Can you please switch on your videos, ladies and gentlemen, for a group photo? Okay, Sir Wax, tell us when. Okay, smile please.
Mylene, we
All
can
right.
open our video.
Start the video. We cannot open
Ah,
the
We
okay.
cannot open.
All right, Sir Wax, allow everyone to turn on their videos, okay? So we have Miss Ruby Banares Victorino of Zonta International. We have Attorney Punsalan of the Women Biz. Please switch on the video. But please turn off your microphone. Attorney Dulce, please. Okay, all right. Sir Wax, Miss Ruby, Miss...
Sorry, we
Miss
cannot open the video. I'm not allowed to open it.
Okay, then we will just wait. We'll wait for Sir Wax to allow you. Attorney Dulce also has to be. Okay. All right, Sir Wax. Okay. All right, just keep smiling, please, because we have, I think, a few pages.
This is a very Filipino trait. We love to take photos for our guests
Yes.
from overseas.
Yes, for our international guests, yeah, Filipinos, we like to take photos. All right, may we request Sir Wax to allow everyone to please to be able to switch on their videos. Okay, I see. Okay. Please, Ruby Banares, Victorino, and we have Wit. Okay, all right, so just... Okay, and Attorney Punsalan. Can you try again, please, Ruby, Wit, and Dulce?
Not
The
allowed.
video
yet.
is still off, Mylene.
Yeah.
Sir
Yeah,
Wax? Okay, all right. There you go, there you go. We have Ruby. Okay, all right. Renee, bear with us. This picture is so important for us Filipinos. Okay, Dulce, can you please allow Dulce and Wit? Lizabel. Okay.
Also, Rosalina, para kompleto tayo.
Rosalina Tan, yes. Rosalina Tan, yes, please. Please allow everyone. Okay, there you go, Dulce. Okay, one by one. Okay, there you go, Rosalina. Hello. All right, and then Lizabel. All right, okay. Smile. All right. Okay, one more page. Okay, there's a lot of pages here. Okay, thank you. All right. Sir Wax, tell us when.
Check mo mabuti kay also say books.
All right. Okay, we're good. Take it away. Take it away, Monette. Thank you so much, Chair Renee, Chair Sandy, Sir Gil, and all the women in this room. Miss Ruby of Zonta. Thank you, sister. Okay, take it away, Monette.
Thank you very much,
Please,
Renee,
we still have more
joining.
coming up.
Yeah, thank you very much, Renee, for joining us. And now we have another speaker, You see, we're talking at the Women's Business Council about all being women entrepreneurs. And so being entrepreneurs, we are under the umbrella of the Department of Trade and Industry. So at this point, I'd like to introduce our keynote speaker, the Secretary of the Department of Trade and Industry, Secretary Ramon Lopez. He has so much, an extensive background, both in public and private service. But it's interesting that after being a very strong advocate for free entrepreneurship education for 12 years, he was actually called to service by our President Rodrigo Roa Duterte to become DTI Secretary. And as DTI Secretary, he chairs several different institutions such as the BOI, or the Board of Investment, the Cagayan Economic Zone Authority, and so many others. He is a multi-awarded person. There is a long list of awards, but I would like to just point out that he received from President Duterte the Order of Sikatuna, and this is with the rank of Datu. This is one of the highest honors that anyone can receive from the Philippines. So let us all welcome the Secretary of the Department of Trade and Industry, Secretary Ramon Lopez.
To our good friend, Ms. Mylene Aviva, the President of Women Biz PH, sa inyong mga kasama, Ms. Monette Iturralde Hamlin, the Chair of Women Biz PH, Ms. Sandy Montano, the Chairperson, Philippine Commission on Women, Honorable Senator Risa Ontiveros, good afternoon po sa inyong lahat, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Department of Trade and Industry, let me congratulate the Women's Business Council Philippines and the team behind Women Rise Collective Voices research study for coming up with this significant report that will benefit many women entrepreneurs and MSME owners. There are indeed many aspects of this season of the pandemic that may stimulate a lot of research and academic studies for years to come. Women Rise touches on one of the most important pillars of the Philippine economy, the MSMEs, involved in the sunrise industries during the pandemic, and the women behind them. The results of this study will be useful, especially for us in the government, particularly because it takes a look at the impact of our initiatives and interventions on the women-led MSMEs during the pandemic. We highly appreciate how the study acknowledged DTI's playing a central role in carrying out national recovery initiatives such as MSME training programs, especially a lot of training programs on digitalization, moving towards e-commerce business platform, and then a lot of mentoring and provision of access to DTI services and facilities. Our country's policymakers will likewise find value in the lessons from actual experiences of women entrepreneurs, the factors and hindrances to their success, and the impact of the policy environment and business climate, particularly the lockdown measures. As mentioned in the study, allow me to point out that majority, 64% of those who avail of the DTI programs for MSMEs are women. And 3 of our programs for MSMEs directly address the needs of women entrepreneurs, namely the Great Women Project 2, which supports women's economic empowerment in the Philippines, the e-Peso Project, which connects women entrepreneurs to the digital economy, and the Gawang Pinay online trade fair. We also take note of the various recommendations by the women entrepreneurs featured in the study, such as the need to train MSMEs in responding to changes in customer behavior during the pandemic and how to adjust their strategies accordingly. As we have been communicating to the various business sectors, we in the government will continue to implement key recovery programs and reforms that will help our nation get back on its feet. President Rodrigo Roa Duterte has already directed us to boost our all-out support for the business sector, especially the MSMEs, to help in their rehabilitation so that they can become stronger and more resilient in the post-pandemic future. Once again, congratulations to Women Biz PH on the launch of this study. Maraming salamat po at mabuhay po tayong lahat.
Thank you very much, Secretary Ramon Lopez. That was our Secretary for the Department of Trade and Industry. May I call on Mylene to join me here? as we present the certificate of appreciation to the Secretary. Mylene?
Okay, may we request also for Chair Sandy to join us so we can document this certificate of appreciation. And if Renee Graham can also join us. We will send this to Secretary Ramon Lopez. Okay, right. So the certificate of appreciation is presented to Secretary Ramon Lopez for imparting valuable insights in the message of support during the Women Rise Collective Voices Research Study launch, given this 20th day of October 2021, signed by yours truly and Chairperson of Women Biz, Monette Iturralde Hamlin. We will send this photo to Secretary Ramon Lopez. Okay, all right. Smile, please. May we also call the ASEAN BAC Executive Director. He has another webinar, but if we can call Gil Gonzalez to join us for this short photo with Secretary Ramon Lopez. And we can show it to PA Joey Concepcion. Oh, okay. Oh, he was chatting. Okay, I think he went to another meeting. Okay, so okay, one more photo, please. Smile, Chair Sandy. Okay, all right. Thank you so much, Monette.
Okay, thank you
Oh, here
very
we go.
much.
Wait a second. All right, sorry. May we have Gil? All right, sorry, Renee. These are important photos for documentation. May we have Gil? All right. Okay, all right. Sir Wax, okay. All right, sir. Okay, 1, 2. Okay, thank you very much. Again, thank you for bearing with us, Renee, for all these photos. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, back to you, Monette.
Thank you. And at this point, what we'd like to do is to now call our two very important women who are actually who participated in the study and who represent some of the sectors, the sunrise industries that we were addressed. No, Sir Wax, can you put the first one, please? First, okay. So from Lizabel Holganza, WIT for short. She has over 30 years of experience in the food service, operations, HR, and entrepreneurship sectors. No, she's currently the CEO of Lila Maya Inc., where she oversees all the different aspects of operations and business growth for WIT's Sweets and Grand Verde Farm. And this actually includes the implementation of a unique and immersive cacao farm tour and testing program. She's actually a cacao doctor since 2013 and has been actively contributing as a founder, as an incorporator, as an officer of the Cacao Industry Development Association of Mindanao and the Cacao City Marketing Cooperative, among others. She also serves as a mentor of the Philippine Center for Entrepreneurship, and she was awarded the Leadership Award 2013 by the Davao City Chamber of Commerce. She graduated from the University of the Philippines with a Bachelor of Science, Nutrition and Dietetics, and she has earned a Diploma in Management Development at the Asian Institute of Management. WIT, hello, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us here. And where is WIT?
Hi.
Can you please turn on already there? Hi, WIT,
Yes.
and I love what you're wearing.
Maayong
Tell me again, how do you
hapon.
call this?
It's
Thing that
tangkulo. It's called tangkulo here in Mindanao.
Tangkulo. Okay, I learned something new. Beautiful. Okay, and let me just call to join us here is our other case person, Marie Antoinette Baldo Emata. She is an accredited mentor, level 3 of the Go Negosyo Kapatid Mentor Me program and the Philippine Center for Entrepreneurship in partnership with the Department of Trade and Industry. She facilitates lectures on business model canvas, governance, taxation, accounting, and bookkeeping, pricing and costing, and financial management. And she actually mentors as well startup entrepreneurs and coaches them in the preparation of their business improvement plan. She's a proprietor with Emata Accounting and Consultancy Services. She's actually a doctor or getting into that, her doctorate for business management. Right now, she's also an instructor at the Xavier University Ateneo de Cagayan. So let's welcome Maan to join us here for the panel. Maan.
Good afternoon, Miss Manette. Good afternoon, Miss Sweet. Good afternoon, everybody.
Okay, love seeing all of you. So we'll have a discussion really on what was the real experience. You both represent two of the sectors for the sunrise industries, no? One is services, and that is Maan, because you're in financial accounting, and Wit in agribusiness. I'm sure you were listening intently to what the DOST secretary was saying, no? Because you can really learn from this and help you. Okay, so my very first question to you is to just let us give our guests an idea of who you are, what kind of business you do. Perhaps you can give us a little snapshot of how it was before the pandemic and what happened when the pandemic hit us full force. Who I'd like to start with, since I introduced you first?
Okay, sige. Okay, so prior to the pandemic, we were really doing the supply and demand side already kasi I grow cacao beans from my farm in Gran Verde in Calinan in Davao. And then initially I was selling to a Japanese consolidator who created green tea chocolates. He brought my beans all the way to Japan, as well as other beans from other Mindanao farmers. Pero 2 years into that relationship with a Japanese consolidator, we decided that we might as well create our own value adding. So nag-R&D kami ng konti, pero we wanted to avoid tableya or sikwate, as we call it here in Davao, Mindanao, kasi everyone was making tableya from cacao beans. So the very first unique product we introduced was a Pinoy cacao granola.
Wait.
Excuse me, Wit. May I request, because you're very soft, could you kindly speak louder so we can hear you better?
Okay, let me turn up the volume yata. Okay. So I was saying, is that better?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So initially, talagang gusto namin i-avoid gumawa ng tableya. Although the tableya was a more traditional product, more than what we actually did innovate, which was a Pinoy version of the granola. And we call it the cacao nib granola. So that was our first offering to the public. We did 4 variants, all replacing the nuts with the roasted cacao and replacing all of the imported fruits you typically find in a granola with manga, ginger, green mango, and all that. So ang distribution namin within the first 2 years initially was Davao, and then immediately within 6 months we did distribute in Manila kasi may home kitchen naman kami sa Manila, and we felt that the disposable income and the I think the openness to embrace novelty products was so much more, I think NCR was more predisposed to embracing new and novelty products. And then eventually, after about 3 years, we went to Bohol, Tagbilaran, and our product saw distribution from Tagbilaran because we also have a home kitchen in Tagbilaran. And then 4 years down the road, we started making tableya. We couldn't get away from tableya because that was really a traditional product with a whole rich cultural heritage. So naglabas na kami ng cacao bars to just do a unique spin on the tableya. Imbis na itong round tablets, we made it into parang piano-looking bars to really parang come close to chocolate bars. Yun. So we do 100% dark chocolate as well as snacking cacao nibs. So before the pandemic, you were asking how was it? Sales was pretty brisk. We did not open a physical store. We were mostly selling online. We were looking for partner resellers who were into healthy options, no, other than the typical snacking options na medyo not so healthy. Of course, after the pandemic, terrible effect. Kasi the association with cacao and chocolate is more of indulgence rather than health and wellness, which I think is a very, very strong challenge for us, cacao and chocolate makers, how to approach the education of our typical Filipino who will only look at chocolate as an indulgent product and not as an essential autoimmune boosting product.
Oh, Wit, chocolate is it's medicine for me. It makes me happy.
True.
So I love chocolate.
Mood boosting, heart healthy if you don't buy fast food chocolate. If you keep to the healthy chocolates which have lesser amount of sugars or what we call dark chocolates.
Okay, very interesting though. There was one thing you said that before the pandemic, you were already selling mostly online.
Yes.
So with the pandemic,
With the
that part of
pandemic,
it was not going to hit you in terms of distribution, right?
it did hit us because syempre yung buying power ng average families were severely affected. And during the pandemic, everyone kind of like pivoted yung mindsets nila to say that, okay, we'll provide basic food on the table and not buy indulgent products. Kasi ang association talaga sa cacao and chocolate is more of indulgence rather than health boosting. So andun yung sweet spot. How to get this message across that if you learn to eat more dark chocolates and not fast food chocolate, if you learn to enjoy cacao in different forms other than the tablea, then your health will be boosted greatly by so much calcium, magnesium, potassium, and all the other healthy enzymes that you find in a chocolate or cacao made with from fermented cacao beans.
So it looks like we have here a branding exercise that is needed to do the change in terms of perception.
You hit
Let's
it on the
move.
head.
Let's move to Maan. Maan, tell us about your business. I was very interested earlier because you told me that you're a proprietorship, but it's together with your husband, right?
Together with my husband. Yes, Miss Manette. I met my husband while we were working at the Bureau of Internal Revenue, or BIR, here in Cagayan de Oro. And then, of course, we had to raise a family. So I had to move to the education sector. And then, of course, we got a lot of questions from friends about BIR and taxes. And then we asked ourselves, why not open up an accounting and consulting business? So back in 2016, my husband and I, we opened the Emata Accounting and Consultancy Services. So although it's organized as a sole proprietorship, but of course, I'm thankful that my husband is there to give full support, in terms of running the business. And this is around running towards 5 years, and our client has grown through mostly word of mouth. We know from services that the very important ingredient is trust. So before the pandemic, we started doing consultancy, and then of course we got a lot of friends also from the Go Negosyo, the KMME, mentees. We worked together during the mentorship, but the relationship extended even after the mentorship. So they just visit the office, do consultancy, parang over coffee, parang chika-chika lang, but doing already parang free services, consultancy services to our former mentees. And then the pandemic came. The pandemic was parang, this was when we decided to really step up, not just giving out tax accounting and not just giving out bookkeeping services, but adding value like giving education and teaching also the business owners how to pivot or how to make use of information to make the right decisions, especially during the pandemic. So there were clients who asked how they could save costs or expenses during the pandemic. So these are value-adding services, extending also and creating good relationship with our clients, so that all of us, because if our clients would suffer, we would also be suffering. So we grow together with our clients. So the pandemic was really a time for us to step up, add value to our, on top of accounting and audit and tax accounting, we also did consultancy and helping them in making right decisions, especially during the pandemic. So thank God, the economy is moving now. So we are, I think, going towards recovering.
Thank you for that, Maan. I see that you pivoted your services somehow. It was not just regular service of accountancy, but you even went into how will they take care of their businesses during the pandemic? How do they save costs and all of that? But let me ask you, because Siwit mentioned that people didn't buy as much chocolate, right? How about you? Did any of your clients walk away because of the pandemic? Like if they they closed their businesses, for example?
During the pandemic, there were unfortunately some businesses who had to close down. For these businesses, we really did not ask anymore for any fee or retainer, no, for additional advice or additional help. So that's one less thing that they should worry about. For some other clients as well, we had to give big discounts, no, in consideration of the effects of the pandemic on their businesses. So we were not considering any more profit, no, in the business, but making sure that everybody survives during the pandemic. So we had to work together. We empowered our employees so that they will be able to also help our clients, no? And by that, the clients would also be able to survive during the pandemic. So a lot of adjustments, but thank God we were able to adjust and keep with the requirements, especially with the limitations of the pandemic.
You have a very good heart in helping your
Yes,
clients
Lynette.
already suffering. But you touched on something, Maan, and I'd also like to ask the same question to Wit, because you mentioned employees. No, as entrepreneurs, we employ people. And during the pandemic, of course, if our businesses were hurt, our income was hurt, but we still needed to continue paying people, right? So how did you handle that? Did you have to let go of people, or how was that? Who wants to start? Maan, and then we go to Wit already, okay?
We really had to put the needs of our employees first. So the limitations, they had to stay home. So we had to make sure that they had load allowances so that they can access the internet and work online. And then, of course, taking care of their needs first. So by doing this, our employees were also able to understand that they really need to also do their share in taking care of our clients. So we're just so blessed that our employees were able to understand the needs, especially during the pandemic. So after also taking care of the needs of our employees, we had to make sure that they are coached and mentored well. We had to shift kasi to using online services. So we had to make sure that they would be also able to explain to our clients how to pay online, how to pay or using online services of BIR and other government agencies, not to keep up with the requirements of the pandemic. So just making sure that all the needs of our employees are met. Thankfully, we were not able to let go of any of the employees.
That sounds so good. Thank you. Wit, how about you? Because you had the farm, so that means,
Yes, I had
and
a
aside
farm
from
and
that, the
I had
processing.
processing.
Wit,
Correct,
louder.
Oo. I had a farm and I had the processing. So in the farm side, wala kaming tinanggal. Sa Davao, very strict yung food and medicine pass. So buti na lang ang agriculture exempted. Kumbaga mabilis silang nabigyan ng food and medicine pass. So hindi nahinto ang trabaho sa farm. And besides, I did not want to take anyone out sa farm nor reduce the working days dahil sa alam ko naman na bread and butter nila itong yung weekly nagpapasweldo kami. Nagbigay din kami ng assistance in the form of rice and parang grocery packs. Pero dahil sa hindi naman namin binawasan yung kanilang number of days work at hindi rin kami nagbaba ng sweldo, tuloy-tuloy lang, no? Dahil sa hindi namin pwedeng iwanan ang farm dahil sa ang dami namin inaalagaan ng mga puno, gulay at saka Tapos meron kaming policy sa farmers namin kung may sobra kami, kung kailangan yung kumain kasi usually 2 meals are taken in the farm. Either it's a breakfast kasi maagang nagsisimula ang mga tao and a lunch. So sabi ko, kuha lang kung anong pwedeng makain sa farm, kunin nyo na. Kasi para makatulong sa pagmenos ng gastos. Pero sa processing side, ibang kwento yon. Dahil naging on-demand ang production, ang processing namin. Dahil kung walang order, hindi tayo magpo-produce kasi mawi-waste dahil very, very short ang shelf life ng mga cacao nib granola. Walang problema sa tableya, 1 taon ang shelf life ng tableya. Pero yung granola, maiksi ang shelf life. So sabi namin, on-demand, ang ginawa namin, naghanap kami ng ibang paraan kung paano namin pwedeng i-keep busy yung mga tao sa processing side. So nakapag R&D kami ng konti by putting out a seasonal offering katulad ng mango strips dipped in 70% dark chocolate. So it was like a trial run. And then ang ginawa rin namin dahil logistics ang number 1 problem namin, dahan-dahan kaming nagmo-move towards capacitating all of the 3 craft kitchens. Kasi ang craft kitchens, merong Davao, merong Visayas in Tagbilaran, and meron in NCR in Taguig. So in-equip namin ito with chocolate grinders and refiners para nang sa ganon, sabi namin, dahil long run, gusto namin suportahan yung whole idea of reducing our carbon footprint and really moving towards a circular economy kung saan pwede na kami mag-source ng cacao beans doon na rin in the same island rather than sending our cacao beans from Davao or Mindanao all the way to Luzon and Visayas kasi nga ang taas ng logistics cost. So it's a work in progress yung ginagawa naming movement towards capacity building, pero there's a lot of effort mostly done by family members on product R&D as well as even training people to help with the individual craft kitchens.
Well, thank you for that. And I think that's a very good move on your part, where you're actually making the 3 groups almost self-sufficient, so they don't have to rely anymore on moving items, especially since it's food. As you mentioned, there is a shelf life for this.
And really, that's really supporting the support local movement. Kasi hindi naman local yung dadalhin mo ang cacao beans mo all the way to Luzon. Hindi na yun local. Diba? But we're talking about local and how do we now minimize the impact, not just to our cost, but also to the environment.
Okay. I have a question to the 2 ladies. Were you able to get any support from the government during this lockdown? And could you tell us what it is?
Ma, if I may go ahead.
You go first.
Well, in terms of support, it's not financial, it's non-monetary, it's mostly capacity building for kunwari running social enterprises. We're trying also to convert our farm operations into a social enterprise. Talagang as in relevant social enterprise, hindi lang yung paggamit ng buzzword na yan. Anyway, so we're getting into more training for how to really establish a relevant and sustainable social enterprise system. Mostly seminars on digital commerce, and thankfully we were getting a grant from Oracle NetSuite to actually use an ERP, a financial technology application for our back end. So actually itong during the pandemic naging meaningful yung time na reduce nga ang volume namin pero ginamit namin yon para mag-acquire ng new knowledge, particularly on migrating all of our financial data into the NetSuite cloud-based system. Ginamit din namin yung panahon para maggawa ng konting R&D for potential new products in the different home kitchens of Wheat Sweets and Savings.
So it was more in the upskilling is what you're saying, rather than in actual, for example, access to finance or getting loans. That didn't happen.
No.
Okay. Ma, your case.
Annette, we didn't reach to the point where we had to consider borrowing from getting assistance from the government, but as to assistance in another form like lenience in the deadlines, especially in the provinces where there's difficulty in traveling. So and of course making sure that the processes would be shortened to make sure that no time will be wasted staying in the offices. So I think those are some of the things that greatly helped us. The help that is extended to us by the government. But I'm pretty sure though if we would also be borrowing from SBC then we would. But thankfully we weren't to the point yet of needing to borrow from the needing assistance, financial assistance. But from other forms, marami po.
Okay, we're getting to the end of the time that we have for the panel discussion, but I would like to ask you to give each one of you time to just close this up. And what I'd like you to answer is, for example, if I gave you a magic wand, to say, okay, this is my wish so that my business is going to survive and thrive post-pandemic. That's one. What would be your wish in terms of support? Second question that I have is, what would be your best advice for women entrepreneurs like you who are in the sunrise industry and who are probably not as fortunate as the two of you for your business? Who would like to start?
Miss Wit, would you like to start? Miss Universe eh.
Number one, kung may magic wand, ang gusto ko talaga yung magic wand is to actually develop this mindset of conscious consumption. among buyers and consumers of products. Kasi if we are conscious about what we consume and we learn about where they're grown, who's growing them, then I think people are more apt to change their lifestyle and commit to a long-term parang embrace of good food, and for food to serve as medicine. Kasi a lot of the food that we grow in our islands are actually great products, no? Unfortunately, sobra pa rin tayong parang I think sobra pa rin tayong driven to get it at a convenient method, rather than parang go out of your way and get to know the farmers and people who grow food in your locality and support them. So sana ganun yung mangyari, because I think overall the impact not just to the food industry and the food growers, I think the impact will extend to the allied services that serve the agribusiness sector. Yun. And then your second question, Monette, was all about, what was that?
Your advice. What
My
advice do you have for women entrepreneurs like you?
Well, I think, we still need to find ways to work together. Kasi I feel like every problem has a solution naman. And it does not have to be all dependent on government. I think we can make things move if we just know where to find solutions, and even how to find the networks of women who are aligned to our values, so we can all work together. Kasi mahirap kasi yung parati tayong tumatakbo sa gobyerno para humingi ng tulong. We never get to a point where we become self-sufficient. And I think women have a natural affinity for using their intuition and using their gut feel to find where these pockets of parang alliances, potential alliances might be might be found and might be discovered. So kailangan parang we're always open to the idea of learning and really reaching out to communities and groups that we might find ways to work together so that it can all be beneficial, not just for our business, but for our communities as well.
Thank you very much for that, Wit. And Maan, your turn.
Okay, so if I'd have a magic wand, I would really like to have a strong community for women. Our business is built on relationships. So if we have a good community, we have a strong relationship with other women entrepreneurs, like me also, it would be a great help. No, the community would lend us confidence, would give us also technical advice or help, assistance. So I think I would consider that a great help to me, especially if considering I'm also a sunrise entrepreneur. And then my advice for the other women, although we are built not to be part or to handle household chores, but again, we have to make sure that we have to remember that we are also accountable for the blessings that were granted to us. And being accountable means also taking care of all other people outside our house. So doing that purpose, and then remembering that we are part of the greater scheme of things. So we are part of a bigger picture. So we also have to do our share also in taking care of others.
Thank you very much for that. You two ladies, you really brought out that for women, they don't think just about themselves or their business. They think always, what can I do for the greater community? And that, I think, is a blessing of having a woman leader. So you two are women leaders in your own rights. We've also listened to a lot of women leaders, Senator Risa earlier, and even Chair Sandy. We have Mylene and all the women biz members who are here. We have Renee. So when women actually support other women, great things happen. And we'd like to thank you very much for participating in this panel. May I call Mylene to join me here on stage for a photo, and Chair Sandy, if she's still around.
And she's
Sandy.
still around. And Renee, Maan and Wit, I am so happy that you have been chosen as case studies for the Women Rise, because you have truly risen in this pandemic. And I'm sure you have inspired a lot of women to do the same. All right, so we have Chair Renee and Chair Sandy in the photo.
So please smile.
Okay, smile. Renee, if I may just inform you that Wit is from Davao. They're both from the south, from Philippines. Davao is region 11, and then Maan is from Cagayan de Oro, which is also from the southern part of the Philippines. So we are represented by women from the south. Thank you so much, Maay. Yes, maraming salamat. Daghang salamat in their dialect.
The
Thank
pleasure
you
is
very
mine.
much. Okay, Mylene, over to you.
Okay. All right. And as we move on, and after hearing the panelists for today, truly enough, I would have to give this good news. It's about community, it's about networking and women getting together. So we'd like to announce that the Women's Business Council Philippines has established the Women Strong Network, building for innovation and better business. And the grant stream is from the Upscaling Women's Institutions of Services and Advocacies for Empowerment, or UPWISE, which is funded by Global Affairs Canada, or GAC, and implemented by the Philippine Business for Social Progress, or PBSP. The project aims to aid and facilitate the recovery of WMSMEs, thereby contributing to the nation's economic recovery as well. In support of the Women's Rights Action and Advocacy Project, or WRAP, theme of access to development, resources, and benefits, Women Biz Philippines believes that women's economic empowerment is premised on access to resources, a basic need to expand their business. The project will give access to capacity building resources that will equip them with knowledge and skills on business continuity planning. In parallel, building a network for exchange and innovation will surface voices from the ground, empowering the Women Strong Network members to determine their paths to progress and give partners and stakeholders immediate and greater clarity or the context, capacities, and vulnerabilities of the community, and providing current evidence for better planning and program development. Women Strong Network will be composed of 120 WMSMEs as founding members and representatives from Women Biz and DTI to serve as technical advisors. We will provide the space for knowledge building and sharing and innovation by 2022. Women Biz PH will provide the community with scaffolds to foster and support network building. So apart from the Women Rise respondents, the project will also include WMSMEs beneficiaries from Region 9, 12, and BARM. The project will increase the representation of WMSMEs from the Visayas and Mindanao. These WMSMEs will be identified in collaboration with the regional offices of DTI as well as Go Negosyo centers in these regions. The project's objectives are the following: to equip the 100 WMSMEs with the skills and tools that will capacitate them for business continuity by 2022, based on the results of the Women Rise Survey of 2021. Training courses on the following topics will be as followed: A, change management and innovative product development; B, finance education; C, digital marketing tools and tips; and D, e-commerce. So for women entrepreneurs here in this meeting, in this call, in this webinar, who are interested to join, please share this link. We'll be providing a link so that you can participate. And then it's also a voluntary basis, and it will run from this month, October, until October of next year. But it's not going to be a whole event. That means we have scheduled events or workshops and webinars. And then the Women's Business Council Philippines, yes, would like to invite the entrepreneurs, the women entrepreneurs, to be part of this Women Strong Network. We only have 120 slots available, but please remember that women helping other women, great things happen. So please join us in the Women Strong Network.
Thank you very much, Mylene, and thank you everyone for joining us today, this afternoon, for the launch of the book. And so at this point, I'd like to go to the next slide. Okay, we do have an evaluation forum where we would like to get your feedback. We do this for every event that Women Biz has. And so we'd appreciate if you could please get onto that link and give us your feedback. But I'm sure more important, you want to know how you can get your hands on the book. Well, we have two books that we just launched. The first one, Wax, next sheet, please. This is the I Am Woman book. And this one is the summary of all of the a series of 6 webinars or women's seminars that we had on various different topics, such as the Magna Carta, gender fundamentals. We talked about inclusive leadership, about communications with a gender lens, about looking at different policies, evaluating them to make sure that they are gender inclusive, gender responsive. We also looked at the marketplace, the supply chain, to make sure that it is fair for women. And also, we ended it up with the I Am Safe series, because we talked about ensuring that women are protected from violence, the Safe Space Act. So if you want to get a copy of this, you can get a printed copy for 599 pesos. If you want the ebook version, that's 499. But if you're like me, who likes both having a hard copy as well as an ebook, well, we have a bundle of only 699. So just train your camera on that QR link so that you can order this book. No, we have very limited copies, so please put in your orders now. And on the next page, for the book that we just launched, this is the Women Rise book. No, this is only 299 pesos for a printed copy. Again, we only printed limited copies of this book. So if you would like to order to ensure that you have a copy, then you can contact Jerome at 0943-911-5540. But if you are, for example, an NGO and you need the free copy and you don't have the money to buy the book, contact us and we will be able to send you a copy. Okay, so with this, we'd like to thank everyone for joining us today for the launch of the Women Rise Collective Voices for the research study book that we had. And I think we have been able to capture a lot of learnings from the women who were part of the study. And we can also see we can already foresee what kind of policies we need to put in place so that we can help women. After all, as Mylene was saying, and I've been saying all this time, is that when women help other women, great things happen. So it's community building, sisterhood, and let's go for it. Thank you so much and stay safe, everyone.
Thank you. Congratulations, and Women Rise.